Welcome to another episode of Unraveling IT. And on this episode, we'll be sitting down with Brian Harmison, the CEO of Corsica Technologies, as well as Nate Troyer, a solutions architect here at Corsica. And they'll be discussing ChatGPT versus the newest innovation from Microsoft, which is Copilot, and which one we feel like you should be paying attention to and how it's revolutionizing the way that we communicate. Stay tuned.
All right. So I'm here today with Nate Troyer, who's one of our solutions engineers and has worked for Corsica for, well, feels like a long time. I feel like I've worked with you a long time.
It does feel like a long time. Probably feels like a long time to you. Not to me, though.
It does. But I greatly appreciate you being here today. And we're going to talk about AI.
Yes.
So especially, AI and how it relates to work. And I have a feeling you probably use AI more in your job than I do.
I think I was one of the earliest adopters because I am very lazy and I hate writing statements of work. I hate trying to sound professional, and it usually comes off as somebody play acting that they're professional when AI can just sound professional, use words like seamless and a couple of hot words that I think a lot of C-suite people would understand immediately that I just have not had that much depth in. And so I just started asking, at the time it was ChatGPT, just started asking it to write an executive summary based on the narrative that I was going to give it. So essentially, I would just give it the narrative like, company A wants to have a refresh of their data center, right? It's old, it has security vulnerabilities, and company B, that's right, we don't put actual information in there. Company B is going to perform the work and all that stuff, and it would just spit out the best thing I had ever read that did not come from my hand, but was, I would say, enhanced with AI. That's the way we put it in our team. Like, it's enhanced.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to look at it. I even tell my kids AI is great for expanding what you maybe thought was possible or the way you were thinking about something. And when it comes to producing work product, it can give us something that taps into knowledge that we don't yet have, or vocabulary that we don't yet have.
Yeah, thanks for in vocabulary. So
it's really useful.
And like the intangibles of using it, when I start writing something by myself, just freehand, I have learned how to write well with AI spitting that information out. So when I'm engaging with people in the C-suite and I'm writing emails and things like that, I don't really use ChatGPT anymore to write it for me because I kind of already understand. I might have it, punched up a little bit, but that's about it. So I think it can be used as a tool, to teach people how to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. And when I think of generative AI like ChatGPT that way, even for the types of things that I write, it's almost like a mentor. It taps into all this extra sources of experience that in a way that's so much faster than just learning it on our own. And I find that to be one of the things most valuable when I need to think of something differently. We all get tunnel vision, get locked into the way we think of the world, and ChatGPT specifically and any generative AI can help break you out of that.
Yeah, and I think since the amount of information that it's consuming is so great, you can get answers out of specifically like ChatGPT's model for things like what is the difference in thought process between the average American and the average German, which is something I actually asked, because if we're going to be going into a discussion with somebody who's from Germany, they're going to have a different way of processing what we're talking about than I will. They're more collaborative and we're more individualistic, so it kind of helps you, like it kind of guides you of where you need to go in a conversation. It was like super. It's amazing what you can ask it. I was trying to think of ways and things to ask it that it probably doesn't get asked all the time. I read an article the other day that said it's better at doing like research for like scientific research than models specifically created for that industry, because it's consuming vast amounts of data.
Right.
Which is, it's nuts. It's absolutely, and they didn't know that until they asked it a question about that industry. They're like, wait a minute, like it's giving us better information than the models that we created, for specific for our industry. So it's really cool. I mean, AI is super cool.
Yeah, and I think for those of you maybe listening that aren't using AI yet, you will be.
Yes.
I think experience is what gets people to come back and realize that it's not a replacement for people.
No.
But it certainly is an enhancer for your own experience.
Right.
It's like being able to ask an expert anything that you want to, and really
But you have to understand the answer that it's giving. So there's a component you have to be a part of the process too.
Yeah. So generative AI is super useful for business. Mm-hmm. But we definitely see some risks, and you started us off with kind of one at the beginning where you mentioned an example of where we'll use AI to help enhance maybe something that we're writing or going to present to a customer. And specifically with ChatGPT, there's some risks around where is that data going?
Right.
And we live in a world where now I see people really willing to give up personal information, maybe accidentally. And I observe or talk with people who I feel like are probably doing that in ChatGPT now without really thinking about where's my company data or my personal data going.
If you type it into ChatGPT or any of these generative AIs, it's their data, right? So, I mean, you kind of have to be careful. They've written what's interesting is they've written their terms of service in such a way that's basically like, all risk is on you, which I can understand that. So I mean, you just got to know what you're dealing with when you get involved with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think take Bard for example, where you can drop images in and ask it to analyze those. The risk goes up pretty substantially if you start trying to use it to do your job.
Right.
And especially in an industry like ours, where part of what we do is have data about other companies. And so it's really critical to know where that goes, which brings me to another topic, which is Copilot and Microsoft's generative AI designed around the M365 ecosystem.
Now, you've done more research on that than I think you got like a test flight of that, didn't you?
No, well, I've seen a lot of the demos, used little bits of it. But it's not out yet for small business, which is, in Microsoft's world, anybody who's not a giant enterprise.
Well, what do you think? So how do you think this is going to change the landscape for people who are already using the Microsoft ecosystem? Like, what if they're you? If somebody like you is sitting at his desk and he gets an email from somebody asking for financials and stuff like that.
You think all I do is email?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Some days it does feel that way.
Yeah.
So
I'll be fired at the end of this, but guys, don't worry about it. I will never be back.
I hope you come back. The big differences are that one, I don't have to put my information into ChatGPT or Bard, for example. Microsoft is using those large language models on my data that already exists in M365. So it's already designed around my ecosystem. And the way Microsoft is looking at this is really application-based, but then also broader than that through some of the chat interfaces. So I think of that example you brought up. We need some financial analysis on maybe it's some revenue.
Yeah.
Copilot will look through my email and attempt to gather the data that I need in order to respond to that, and it'll even potentially draft a response for me.
That's crazy.
Which is just like what we would expect ChatGPT to do.
Yeah, it's just not integrated.
Information, and what's great about it is it's protected. It's kept within that space, and it is a force multiplier for businesses in the right way.
Right. So how do you like, especially with our company specifically, like how do you see it like augmenting our abilities here?
Yeah. So it's great if it helps me save time.
Right.
I think the bigger impacts longer term are around customer service and how do we interact with our customers, because that ultimately is our business. There's a lot of other things that we do or talk about, but we are a client-focused business. We wouldn't have a business if it wasn't for those clients that work with us, that we provide security and support for. And so ChatGPT doesn't really solve any of that for us. It might give us, some lipstick to put around, a document that we send out. But what Copilot has the potential to do for a company like us is to give everyone the context that they need around that vast array of customers in a really timely and meaningful fashion. And so, imagine feeding in who that customer is, who they normally work with, what projects we've done recently for them, what service we've done for them, and then being able to get a summary or a response as someone on the front lines who's interacting with that customer and is able to have that full view. Again, all that data is available now.
Yeah.
Just we as humans can't go out and in 15 seconds go find it all, assemble it, and create something
and make
cohesive.
sense out of it.
Right, and give a cohesive response to it. So when I think of what Copilot can do for businesses, certainly it can increase our productivity, but it can really drive us towards a better customer experience, which is what most of us are after, because our customers really drive that revenue and the success of the business.
So outside of our industry, just outside of IT, we're like somebody who's in a manufacturing job. Like, how do you think that that's going to, affect sales, affect the quality of their product? Like, how do you see it being implemented?
Yeah. So in let's use manufacturing as an example.
Because we're in Fort Wayne, guys.
Manufacturing is our largest vertical.
It is.
We work with a lot of manufacturing companies. So there's a couple things that need to happen first. One is starting to adopt the data frameworks available within M365, because that's what's going to bring the information that we can start applying Copilot to. And so that means building some connectivity between ERP systems and the Microsoft ecosystem, starting to bring that data integration into the Microsoft 365 domain, so that we can start interacting through Excel, through Word, with data from these other systems.
And you need people to do that, right?
You absolutely need people to do that. You need you need that connectivity, but in a world of SaaS applications, everybody has an API. Everybody has the ability to get that data into something like a Power BI, and that's why using those external tools to start building those dashboards and viewing your data becomes really valuable when you have Copilot, because now you can interact with that ERP data, with that scheduling data, with whatever it is out of those other systems through a safe AI ecosystem that ties into your productivity apps that you're using all the time. So if I was a production manager and I wanted to write a report on scheduling and throughput, if I have those dashboards already built in Power BI, then I can have Copilot help me construct those reports and pull that data from those various reports.
So, one of the things I saw was that you can essentially, since ChatGPT is OpenAI, right?
Right, which is also behind Copilot.
Right. Is Microsoft, do you think they're going to develop something for people who maybe want to be more hybrid and stay on-prem and have access to their on-prem data?
I think at some point the connectivity is there now. It's a little cumbersome to get it where it needs to be, because it have to be accessible through what used to be Power Automate.
Yep.
And I don't know. Microsoft is pretty fully invested in getting everyone in a
no one was surprised
model.
that they would have, one, a pay-to-play model, but two, their own AI.
Right.
No one, I don't think anybody was surprised with that.
But I like it as a business leader. I look at it and say, I can have confidence that I can turn my people loose on AI and do so in a way where I don't have to worry that my company data is going to land, on a server.
Well, yeah,
somewhere.
we have clients now and prospects asking us about, what type of policy what type of policies have we seen out there surrounding AI usage, like security policies? Yeah. That was I had not heard that just even 2 years ago. No one was asking that question.
Before ChatGPT, it just wasn't available.
Well, yeah.
in your browser to go and put company data out on the web.
Yeah. I mean, the quickness with which this has grown is incredible. It's not a new thing. I think it was started like 1957, like looking into AI, starting to figure out how to process AI and all that. But it really took off when the graphics processing units started to be in play, and all the hardware that's now involved and how fast it is, and just that all that data is now out there for it to consume. This is not going away anytime soon. In fact, I think we have to be worried about malicious use of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, ChatGPT has some guardrails up in case if you wanted to do something like, hey, can you write me some code that will delete everybody's information off of their C drive? It'll say no, but you can get around it by asking it in a certain way.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can just see people creating tool sets out of it that, I mean, at some point in time, I think it was you who said something to the effect of, one day we'll just have our AI go talk to their AI. But I think the day is also coming in when, we'll just have our AI defend against their AI.
Yeah, we're likely closer to that than
I'm sure it's happening.
Realize now, and
Yeah.
I think as much of a force multiplier as AI can be for us in a productive business, it can be in a harmful or malicious business as well. And we certainly see that. And I think if history has told us anything about threat actors, it's that they're willing to invest time and effort that a lot of times a regular commercial business is not willing to invest. And that keeps them ahead of many of the small to mid-sized businesses that we work with that don't have a partner that's helping protect them. So it's going to keep growing, and ChatGPT has guardrails, but there's plenty of other ways to engage with AI and produce malicious content if that's what your desire is.
Right. And man, yeah, it's kind of scary.
That part is kind of scary.
It is kind of scary, but I think the upside of this is you're seeing a lot of AI now being adopted by cybersecurity companies, that have specific products, that it's essentially in the background consuming all this information, going, that doesn't look right, that doesn't look right, that doesn't look right, and pointing that out. And correct me if I'm wrong, but AI is also involved in Microsoft's cybersecurity.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think we're going to continue to see a bit of a battle between good AI and malicious AI for a long time.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, pretty sure we will too.
Yeah, for sure. So I think Copilot is available for most businesses in roughly 3 months. It's available in the enterprise space right now. And I know I'm really excited to get it deployed to some of our customers to see how it can have an impact in a positive way. But in the meantime, you mentioned these policies around AI usage. I don't feel like policies are what's going to be the answer, because I think we all recognize a policy is about as good as the paper it's written on.
Oh yeah.
Without some enforcement mechanisms. What we're not seeing a lot of now is companies saying, hey, will you block these domains so that I can protect my business? Because I think deep down there's this desire to say, well, I know I'm getting better work product because some of my team is using AI. So I expect to see a shift as Copilot becomes available and there's a subscription model to get generative AI to be productive in business. I expect that we're going to start blocking some of the generative AI tools from corporate domains.
That's interesting. I did not think about that, because they're already paying. Most of these people are already paying for M365, business premium, stuff like that. That's going to start moving people away from the quick and dirty. I've got a ChatGPT account. It can write my email for me. Well, so can Autopilot. It's right there. Oh, by the way, it's consumed most of your emails and your Word documents in a secure way. And it can give you the best response because it knows the most about this specific portion of your company or this specific person who's emailing you.
Right.
That's really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, it's a great product.
Yep.
All right. Well, Nate, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm the one who runs the company based on the vest.
Yeah, you're right. You came well dressed today, and I appreciate that. So thanks again for joining
no problem.
us, and I'm sure we'll have other topics we talk about in the future.
Okay. All right. So,
Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready to get started.
Okay. Well,
Who do you think runs the company?
Let's try this.
Okay. Leave it in.